I think that just as we're living in a nuclear age, we have grown so tremendously in scientific knowledge. It doesn't seem too much to say that men can begin to awaken to the fact that they haven't grown enough spiritually and haven't recognized their spiritual capacities.
Once something like eating is death, then you've struck at the very heart of life. The enemy of the older radical theories may have been the ruling class. But today the stakes of whether we will reform ourselves into a new kind of human being, a new kind of society, whether we will find selves worth being, the stakes of it are simply life itself.
Hello, everyone. We are here at the Maurin Academy presenting our screening and Q&A with the filmmakers of the documentary Eating Up Easters. We have with us in this interview Sergio and Elena Rapu, the filmmakers of this wonderful documentary that we will be sharing time with them, watching the documentary on June 24, and then they will share with us their experiences working with the documentary and the message and the concept behind their cinematographic work. But at the same time, it is a quite personal piece of work. I want to introduce the work that both of them have been doing. They're both filmmakers. Sergio Rapu is an Easter Islander, and he has worked in his native Rapa Nui. He is a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker. He has spent the last 15 years shooting and producing documentaries that have aired in PBS Nova, National Geographic, the History Channel. And he has, the main focus on Sergio's work is show the diversity of life through thought-provoking media. And it is a shared focus that he has with his collaborator and spouse, Elena Rapu, on shedding light into the social and economic issues that are tied to the current environmental crisis. Elena is an anthropologist. She's an anthropologist and a filmmaker. She earned her MA in anthropology from SUNY Binghamton and specialized in the Pacific. She is a biological anthropologist. So she has a broad knowledge of anthropology, not only in the social-cultural sense and her experience of spending a lot of time in Easter Island, in Rapa Nui, but also she has training as a geneticist. She is passionate about exploring the realities of people beyond biology, but also of the dynamic experiences that have shaped the culture, specifically in the Pacific. So welcome very much to this interview, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you there at the screening. And I guess maybe we could just get started with, what made you guys want to do this documentary? And what is like the main thing that you're trying to get across through this documentary?
I guess I'll start. Growing up on Rapa Nui and now also living in the US, I easily come across people who have misconceptions about my culture, my community, our history, our moai, right? So much of it is centered around our statues or ancestor figures that we call moai there. And so really, the impetus of making a film about Rapa Nui was, what are the modern dilemmas that we're dealing with on Rapa Nui, and focusing on that to show that we are a thriving community, small community in the middle of the Pacific, but nevertheless alive and thriving and adapting to challenges that really we all are globally.
Yeah, I think we really wanted to just give voice to the Rapa Nui to share their own story, because so many people come there and share widely kind of the mystery of Easter Island or other types of stories about the island, like he said, about their past, but never featuring the fact that there are still people alive today related to the people who built those statues. And we wanted to just give the people there today a chance to speak about the effects of that messaging on them, and then also like the effects of tourism on them, because so many people come to the island to see that incredible, mysterious place without even understanding not only that there are still people on the island often, but that the impact that they have when they come. And so to allow the Rapa Nui space and a platform where they could say, here's what's happening with everybody coming, we're benefiting from it, we're also having all of these challenges, and here are the like amazing and diverse and creative ways that we are trying to handle this here. And we might have some great ideas or just sort of things that we can share with the world for what other people could do in similar situations. And we really wanted to highlight that.
The first voice are Rapa Nui voices. And there is not one Rapa Nui, one type of Rapa Nui. It's not somebody in a particular place stuck in the past as a relic of time. But these are three sets of people with different realities, different interests, different purposes, different walks of life. And you present the idea of indigeneity in Rapa Nui society in tandem with what they have to deal as part of the nation state of Chile. The recent history with Chile and the present that it is tourism, that it's the economy, that it's fully reliant on tourism. So you have particularly four characters, and that are very, very important for the story. That it makes it very personal and shows us the not only temporally diverse experience, but also multifaceted based on their lives as Rapa Nui. In and out of Easter Island.
Well, yeah, I think it was really important to us to break a lot of stereotypes about Rapa Nui when we made the film. So kind of how we already talked about that in terms of that there is a modern population there today, but then also reminding viewers that in any population, it's made up of a diverse group of individuals, and they're not going to all see eye to eye. They're not going to all have the same solutions or ideas about how to move through life. And so we wanted to highlight a diverse range of that on the island and show that there are lots of different ideas, and a lot of them conflict, and there's just a lot of complexity there. And not only is there complexity in that, but there's complexity in their identities, right? So a lot of Rapa Nui are mixed identity now, because at one point there were only 111 people left on the island after European contact and diseases, and a lot of people were removed from the island and taken as slaves to South America. And so in like I forget the exact date, the 1870s or something like that, it was down to 111 people. And so a lot of the survivors of that have intermingled with other groups of people and have mixed identities now. And so that adds another layer of complexity for people as they try to bridge their Rapa Nui culture and then either Chile or outside cultures. And then we also featured my husband in the documentary a little bit as well. And so his own identity, as he has an American mother and a Rapa Nui father, and kind of how that played in and related to the other characters that have some similar multifaceted histories.
Yeah, I think one kind of takeaway. So my wife is an anthropologist. My father, who's also a character in the film, is an anthropologist. My mother, to a certain extent, is also. So I think one clear message that kind of came through, and I've really tried to embody that even in my own identity as an indigenous person from the Pacific, is that to be Rapa Nui is not just a single moment in time. We as a culture, and not to generalize, but I think in general, other indigenous people, we like often struggle with like, what does it mean to be Rapa Nui? What is that sort of reflection that I need to embody in order to be able to call myself this thing? And And the message, that I've received really from my dad and from so many others is that like it's a continuous process. We no longer live in grass huts, we wear modern clothing, we have cell phones, and that is still Rapa Nui. So for me, really, as kind of you're touching on the sort of complexity and the different characters that we identify is really also highlighting that for visitors, for outsiders, to be able to see somebody who is plugged into the modern world, identifying as Rapa Nui, and see that as authentic, right? So that was really important for the film, and really, for us as a couple with children now moving forward in terms of our Pacific Island identity.
The image that people see when they see the film advertised includes a lot of just piled up, like you get this instant image of all this plastic and debris piled up. And I know that the documentary deals with just how they have to deal with so much of this that accumulates with no easy way to dispose of it. Could you speak to that aspect of the documentary a bit?
Sure. I think that part is really the most visceral part of the film. When we talk about sort of ideas of modernization and development, like sometimes it's hard to materialize like what that idea might be. But when people see pieces of plastic on a pristine shoreline, that's a clear flash, right? And I think that embodies so much of what we're dealing with in the world today globally, where we are identifying issues, right, that are being dealt with across the world. Here, we're based in Minnesota. We are trying as a community here to tackle plastic use and trash and all of that as we are on Rapa Nui. The only difference is that on Rapa Nui, things are a lot more visible, right? Like you go to the shoreline and you see the microplastics, the thing that's not supposed to be there. We drive by the processing plant, the trash plant all the time. And so those systems are a lot more visible, where here in Minneapolis, where we live, all of those systems are sort of behind walls in a sense, right? Like every week, we throw a bunch of our recycling into this blue bin, a magical truck comes by, picks it up, and then it's like out of our lives. But the reality is that it's not out of our lives, right? And so being able for us as individuals to see those systems takes a little bit more legwork to see that. So really for us, like in making the film, trying to instill in audiences to understand those systems within their own communities was a real motivating factor. When we talk about impact, what is the impact that we want our audiences to take away is look into your communities, what systems are in place that also, what questions arise with how things are being done on Rapa Nui, and bring those into your own community and see and learn from that, right? Because that's really where individuals have huge impact in just their own daily lives and practices.
I think I shared this with you before, but we had this kind of amazing moment where we were filming with Mama Piru in the recycling facility, and she turned to us and was like, "So what is it like in your recycling facility where you live?" And we were just like, had a moment where we're like, we have no idea. And here we've been filming with you this whole time and seeing how you do it here, but we haven't brought that home with us to Minnesota where we live right now and thought about the system there. And so that really kind of opened our eyes to how we could use this film as just kind of how Sergio was saying, a way to, it's just so much easier to see it on Easter Island, and you're there and it's a tiny island. So the trash is either it all comes in from outside. They're bringing all of their food in from outside, pretty much. Everything comes packaged in all kinds of things. That's either going to stay there on the island or have to be shipped out. And so that's so much more easy to see that in such a contained environment than it is in a bigger place where it can drive, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours away and to a dump or something. And you don't necessarily see it all around you all the time and have this sense of like it really has nowhere else to go. You feel in a continent like there's just more space and it's not that big of an issue yet, right? That it's not pressing in on us yet. And so I think seeing it in this, a lot of people on the island like to call it a microcosm of an example for the world. And it's just much more clear right now what's happening there, but it's happening everywhere and we need to be aware of it.
Absolutely. When you mentioned Mama Piru and how recycling in Easter Island is not only a technology of crushing all the plastics, but she goes herself. She organizes the community. She's speaking in the radio in Rapa Nui in Spanish, showing all those layers in the logistics of the problem that it's really apparent in that. That's really wonderful, and the artistry with which you filmed the documentary it's remarkable. And in that tragedy of contamination, the beauty of the colors and the beauty of Easter Island and the people. So it is a wonderful piece of work, and we're very grateful and proud to present it in the Maurin Academy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.